Said his house ain't a home and he's losing sleep. Wife cold as steel, vibe off track. Asked me how the hell to get his edge back.
What's going on, guys? I have a pretty good sponsored video for you today. It should be a pretty fun one. It's a little bit different than the previous ones that we've had here. My man wrote in, he said, Paul, I think it would be a fantastic episode to do something along the lines of passing a shish test when you are in bed and trying to make a move on your lady. Agree and amplify, fogging, negative assertion, and negative inquiry. I've read When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, but it doesn't go into detail with intimate marriage advice. That's because, even though When I Say No, I Feel Guilty is, it's considered red pill canon, especially if you're reading or if you're, in the married red pill and they say, hey, read the sidebar. It's one of the required reading books because it's a communication book. It's a book on assertive communication. It's not exactly a relationship book per se. But the way he worded this was very odd because I'm going to say it was a Wolfpack brother that requested this, and there was a whole conversation going on that led up to this yesterday because a Wolfpack brother was having a problem with his lady, and she was being super jealous about something. I go, well, with jealousy, I would handle it with Agree and Amplify, and he's like, oh, well, can you give me an example of that? And I was like, sure. If she says X, Y, and Z, I would say P, D, and Q, basically. And then someone said, it'd be really good if we did a whole episode on examples of Agree and Amplify. And I said, well, smells like a sponsored video. So that's what I was sort of expecting. But when he emailed in, he was like, I want the whole gambit, and I want it to be about when you put the moves on your woman and she shuts you down, and I was like, okay, all right, I get where you're coming from with this. But one of the things that I talk about in Get Her to F You Again, I can't say the full name because we're not at the 8-minute mark, right? But Get Her to F You Again. One of the things I talk about in there is the concept of kino escalation, right? Which is kino is short for kinesthetic, which means touch, right? It's essentially breaking the touch barrier in order to initiate sex and get your wife or your girlfriend stimulated, right? The problem most of you guys have, though, is that you're waiting for bedtime to try to initiate sex. Otherwise, it's just go with the flow. You're dealing with the kids. You're watching Landman, you're not really doing anything inherently stimulating to get her engine revved up. You know what I mean? Like, women don't just have an on switch like men do. Like, we can just turn it on. We're ready to go. Most women, they need to be put into the mood. Okay. So you got to prime that pump a little bit. So, that kino escalation works way better if you're doing a little bit of what Corey Waynes calls 2 steps forward, 1 step back all night long. So as soon as you get home from work and you see your wife for the first time, this is where you start this stuff. Okay. You start the sexual initiation as soon as you're hanging out with her, not right when you go to bed. You know what I mean? So, read the book. I talk about it more in this, right? But if you are the kind of guy who's in a total dead bedroom where she hasn't bagged you in months or years, none of this will help you until you work on your attractiveness. Okay. So forget this stuff. And for now, just focus on these few things for a couple of months. Okay. Going to the gym consistently, improving your overall grooming and appearance, better clothes, better haircuts, cologne, all that kind of stuff. And then read or listen to Get Her to F You Again on repeat and grab the workbook too and start working on that. Do all that kind of stuff for at least a month or two before trying to do this kind of stuff, right? She's not banging you anyway. What else are you going to do, right? Anyway, that being said, I did come up with 20 examples of things you can say to your wife if she offers up a little bit of last-minute resistance shish testing. And so the first one we have here, your wife says, all you ever think about is sex. An Agree and Amplify response to this would be, guilty. I like you. I like sex. It's kind of a dangerous combo, right? Your wife says, is that all you want from me? Negative inquiry, you could say, well, what makes you think that's all I want? Okay, that's negative inquiry. Negative inquiry, right? So agree and amplify is where you agree with what she's saying, right? And then you take it up to an absurd level and make it a joke, right? You're not taking her seriously. Negative inquiry makes her clarify why she thinks the accusatory statement that she said, right? It makes her clarify things. All right. Your wife says, you only touch me when you want something. You could use fogging here. Fogging, an example would be, I can see how you might feel that way. Okay. Fogging is where you agree with the person. And that's it. It's like agree and amplify, but without the amplify. It's agree with indifference, right? You're sort of looking to any kind of truth in her statement, and then you're just agreeing with her, right? It's really hard for someone to fight with you if you're agreeing with them. You see how that works? Your wife says, I'm tired. Well, you can agree and amplify with that and say, perfect. Just lay back and I'll do all the hard work. Your wife says, you never do this during the day. You never do this during the day. So a negative inquiry, you could say, are you saying you feel more sexy at lunchtime? Right. Let's see here. Why are you so needy lately? Your wife says, why are you so needy lately? A negative assertion example is because I want you, right? So a negative assertion is where you just, you're basically asserting why you're doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Without any kind of other elaboration or justifications or subsequent deering or whatever, right? You're just making a statement because I want you. Your wife says, you're just trying to get laid. It's like you're in bed, you're trying to make out with her and grab her tits. Of course, you just want to get laid. Like, that's a stupid thing to even say. So, but anyway, agree and amplify is correct. Bold strategy. I know. Your wife says, you didn't even ask how my day was. Fogging example to that would be, yeah, fair point. I didn't. Right? It's agree without the amplify. Your wife says, you know what? This is just such bad timing. Okay. So a negative inquiry would be, well, what would be better timing for you? Okay. So negative inquiry, you're just sort of asking clarifying questions is really what negative inquiry is. Your wife says, you know, I just feel really pressured right now. Just feel really pressured. So a negative assertion is, you know, I want you, but you can say no. All right. Now that kind of example is kind of would probably come across a little butthurt. I probably wouldn't use negative assertion in that situation, but you know, you can. And your wife says, why can't you just cuddle? Why can't you just cuddle? An agree and amplify is, well, I can, but it might just escalate. Okay. Your wife says, you always do this at night, right? Which is very similar to the, you never do this during the day one, right? But you always do this at night. Agree and amplify. Well, I'm very consistent. Let's see here. Your wife says, you're being selfish. A good example of fogging would just be to go, yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that, right? You're just agreeing with her. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah. You know who's like the king of fogging would be like, it just came to my head, De Niro, right? Robert De Niro. He's always like, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Right. That's it's essentially fogging. Your wife says, you don't make me feel wanted emotionally. I've never heard a woman say that out loud, like in that kind of statement. you don't make me feel wanted emotionally. They don't say that shit. But anyway, a negative inquiry response to that might be, well, what does wanted feel like to you? What does wanted emotionally feel like to you? Right? I might not do the air quotes when I'm talking to her because that's kind of condescending, but you know what I mean. It's funny because I can give you guys like all 20 of these examples, and then in the moment, if you guys don't practice this stuff like regularly and listen to this stuff 10 to 15 times and just basically understand the concept of it, you're going to always be like, well, what would I say to this phrase, right? Instead of being able to just do it on your own, right? We want to be able to build this muscle memory, so we just do it without thinking about it, right? Okay, my phone's ringing. I hit end here, but it's still ringing over there. Freaking salespeople! Don't you know I have a live stream? Okay, anyway, let's see here. Your wife says, "I'm not in the mood." So an agree and amplify response to that might be, "That's okay. I'm in the mood for both of us." Number 16. You think sex fixes everything? Well, a negative assertion is, no, I just enjoy it. Right? See, my favorite for almost all this kind of crap is agree and amplify. It's my absolute favorite, because what's magical, guys, magical about agree and amplify is that it takes literally whatever she says. She could be pissed off, she could be angry, right? It could be any kind of thing. But if you turn it around and make it into a funny joke, now you've completely like judoed her into playful banter. And playful banter is flirting. Playful banter is attractive behavior, right? When I'm doing one-on-one dead bedroom coaching, the guys that can get agree and amplify down usually get out of their dead bedroom situation within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks. Okay. And that's because they're adding humor to a situation and completely diffusing it, and it becomes charming and endearing, and women dig it. They find it super attractive. Okay. But a lot of these things, negative assertion, fogging, all that kind of stuff, it's not as good in this type of situation, because you're trying to get sex, but you're turning everything into almost like into a discussion, which is boring, right? Like, who wants to fuck the boring guy, right? So a lot of the stuff, the negative inquiry, fogging, all that kind of stuff, when you're trying to put the moves on her, it's not going to move the needle the way you hope. Okay. But I'm giving these examples because my man requested these examples in this situation. But I'm telling you, like, agree and amplify is much better for almost all of these. Let's see here. You think sex fixes everything? No, I just enjoy it. She says, you should know I'm stressed. Fogging, you can reply with that. Yeah, I get that. Right. See how boring that is, though? See, like, agreeing without the amplify is so boring. It's just such a boring thing to say. It's not sexy. No wonder she didn't want to bang you, bro. Like, she's bored out of her mind. Okay. Your wife says, why do you always push? A negative inquiry is, well, what makes you feel that I'm pushy, right? What feels like pushing to you, right? Your wife says, I feel like you expect it. A negative assertion is, I want it, I don't expect it. And then this again, she says this again. This is the last one I got here. An agree and amplify, you can say, well, can you blame me when you're working with all of that? Right? See, that's agree and amplify. See how much more fun that is? Well, can you blame me when you got all that going on? You can't just come to bed with those weapons of mass distraction like that and expect me not to try to rip your clothes off. Come on, girl. Right? All right, guys. I hope that gave you some examples of what to do. See, I much prefer using like stuff like fogging, negative assertion, negative inquiry, Luca, all that kind of stuff. If it's like, to diffuse a heated argument in the moment. But if I'm trying to put the moves on the girl, you want to be in a flirty mood or a flirty sort of behavior. You want to have flirty behavior to get her more in the mood, right? Because you're trying to have sex with her. You're not trying to bore her to death, right? So an Agree and Amplify would be much better for almost all of these. You understand? So just keep that in mind. We got a few people in the chat here. What do we got going on here? We've got Brother David's in the house. He says, yes, it is. I don't know what he's referring to with that. Eric's in the house. John in the house says, when I say no, I feel guilty is a book on boundaries. Well, it does teach you boundaries. It's assertive communication, but that's how you enforce boundaries with assertive communication. And then David says, with a $10 super chat, get in the pack, guys. We are dropping women's boundaries over there. You mean dropping women's panties over there? I don't understand. Hold on. What did he correct? He didn't correct it. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to give him this one here.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
He does absolutely fuck. All right. Appreciate that. Let's see. He says, don't let anything she says bother you. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't take her seriously. That's largely, there was a side topic. There was a discussion in the pack today. One of the brothers, he went on some sailing trip, and I guess there were some female crew members on this boat that he was captaining, and he was borrowing the boat or is paying to rent the boat. And so there was a crew that came with it. I don't know the full story, but some of the females on the boat, the female crew members, and him didn't get along very well, and they're pretty snippy with him, and he was getting real pissed off at him, and he let him have it, right? You gotta lay into these bitches, you gotta hold these women accountable, and then I guess the owner of the boat sent him a nasty letter talking about how he didn't appreciate how these women were treated, and he hopes he teaches his daughter to whatever. And it's just if you guys stop taking women so fucking seriously, you wouldn't be arguing with any of them. You would just be like, whatever. They're women. You just pat them on the head. Sweet little things. They're the most, responsible teenager in the house, right? All right. Hey, Brother John's in the house. What's going on, man? What's up, kids? And Erkin's late to the lecture. Hey, what's going on, man? It's a short episode. You didn't miss much. We went over using fogging, negative inquiry, and that kind of stuff. Agree and amplify when your wife is throwing up last minute resistance when you're trying to put the moves on her. But like I said before, you guys need to be doing more Kino escalation to get the pump primed before bedtime. Don't be waiting for bedtime and trying to put the moves on her and then expect her to be in the mood, right? We have another brother in Wolfpack that he was having a big problem. I think he's since squashed this problem, but when he first joined the pack, he was having this problem where his wife just couldn't get out of mom mode, right? She was always in mom mode, always dealing with their son, and we said, hey, you take charge of the son, you make sure the son goes to bed, and then that way it gives your wife a chance to relax and get out of her mom brain and get into sexy wife brain. Right. And so he started doing that. He took charge of all that stuff, and she was able to relax and not have to worry about stuff. And then the legs opened. Right. So you have to, they're not constantly thinking about sex like us. Like, they don't have as much testosterone as us. You know what I mean? Like, we get to flip a switch. It's on or off. Right. For women, there's all these dials and buttons and all this kind of shit. So you gotta, if you want to have a consistent sex life, you have to create the environment for her to want to feel sexy and want to do this kind of stuff. You can't just expect it to be work like clockwork and go to bed. You know what I mean? So for most of you guys, you need to start working on that Kino escalation, the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and priming that pump throughout the evening. So by the time you go to bed, she's in the mood. She's ready for it. You know what I mean? And when you go to do it and she shuts you down, Agree and Amplify is much more effective because you're turning it into playful banter. Okay. All right, guys, that's all I got for this one. I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, though, do drop a comment below after the replay. I'll get to those. If you guys are subscribers on Spotify subscribers get to listen to these. If you guys, also like to listen to Spotify and you're wondering how to unlock that, there's a link in most of my episodes on becoming a Spotify subscriber, but you don't have to listen to these. You can just watch them on my YouTube channel. Okay. But some people really like the convenience of Spotify, but I'm trying to grow a YouTube channel. So it's like, okay, all right, for you convenience guys, you can help a brother out, but over here you can watch it for free. Either way, I'm trying to make a living here. Anyway, that's all I got for this episode, guys. I hope you found it helpful. Tune in tomorrow morning. We're going to be talking about why you need to stop texting your ex. So if you are one of those guys that's recently got through a breakup or divorce and you're constantly finding yourself, finding reasons to reach out to your ex for God knows why, you need to tune in this episode, okay? Because you need to break that habit. It's killing you on the inside, man. But that's all I got. I hope you guys found this helpful. Smash that like button. We do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And occasionally we have these sponsored episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we will see you guys tomorrow morning.